Hey guys, welcome to Northwest Small Batch Brewing. My name's Steven, and today I want to talk about this guy and this guy. Both of them are the same. They're both brew in the bag bags, but I use them together. So I want to talk about why I do that, and it's a little mini review of why I don't like the Brewer's Edge brew in the bag system, this cylinder here. So stay tuned, hit the like button. It really helps to promote my page and get more people to me. And thanks for finding me. Thanks for watching my video. Let's roll the title and get started. All right, so let me explain first what this guy is. If you've watched my videos, you know that I use an all-in-one brewing system called the Brewer's Edge. There are other kinds of all-in-one systems made by different companies. It's just the one that I happen to have. So a lot of them have these metal cylinders. I know Clawhammer makes one that's for it's not even an all-in-one system. It's just for their pot. But like for example, the Clawhammer one is mesh on all sides. And the problem is with this one, if you look at it, the bottom is perforated. I don't know if you can see it that well. Maybe if I turn it, you can sort of see. But take my word for it, the bottom is perforated. The problem is, I guess maybe I should explain first, if you're new to brewing, this goes inside your pot of water. And you put your grain in this. And basically it lets your grain steep. This is like a giant metal tea bag. And so your grain steeps in there. And then you can use this handle, which is really handy, to pull it out of your pot. And then it will slowly drain the water through the bottom. My problem with it is that it has those perforations in the bottom and they're rather large, which means that a lot of the particulates from your grain will actually fall through those holes in the bottom, and you get a lot of that into your wort. And so it's not a huge problem. It's not like it's a devastating issue, but it's a little bit annoying. Because it takes time to basically let all the sediment filter to the bottom and cold crashing to kind of clear up your beer. And so it's just like, it's an added thing that you just don't need in your beer if you can find a way to avoid it. So some systems, like I don't know what the Grainfather has, but there's some all-in-one systems that have, I think, a better solution for their grain basket than this one. This one being solid all the way on the outside, I don't like, because the water can't penetrate that. The only way the water can penetrate this is through that bottom, the holes in the bottom, which I just think is not very good. And proof of that is by your efficiency. Now I'm not going to go into efficiency too much in this video, but it's basically how much sugar can you convert from your grain, depending on what system you're using. In this case, if I only use this, it's more difficult. I don't have as good an efficiency. I don't get as much sugar converted because it just doesn't interact with the water as well, and it doesn't drain, and it's not great. So what I like to do is use a brew in the bag. So this is brand new. I just bought it. And in fact, I tend to have to buy these bags every now and then because they do wear out. And one of the problems I have with them, sorry for that noise from the bag. One of the problems I have from them, there's several in here by the way, is that this particular cylinder with the handle, you can see it right there. It has these little things that pop out, right? So sometimes when I'm stirring it or whatever, it'll catch on that and it'll tear the bag. And then it's just, So you have to be careful with it. I will say, I like to use this with this because it has little feet on the bottom, which means that when I put this in my pot, it's actually setting, you know, a quarter of an inch or so above the bottom of the pot. The reason that's important is if it sits right on the bottom, you're going to scorch your grain. It'll burn to the bottom, and then you get a scorched, like burnt flavor in your beer that's not, you know, what you're looking for at all. So you either have to really watch, you know, if you're doing it without a bag, you have to stir pretty much the whole hour so it doesn't scorch. In this case, it's lifted up off the bottom. Some people use a false bottom in their pot. That works as well. But what I do is I use this, and then I put, you know, this mesh bag that you can get at any brew store, and I'll put a link in the description, of course, to this stuff. But I put it in here. I use clips. I should have got them for the video to show you, but they're just little clips like from the, you know, office supply store, like little binder clips. And I just use those. You could use any kind of clips you want. Just basically what I'm trying to do is make sure that the bag only gets to the bottom of this. I don't want it to, you know, have too much. So the reason I like this is two things. Number one is it keeps it off the bottom of the pot. Also, it's much more fine a filter. So most of my grain and particulates, they won't get through this. It keeps my actual wort much cleaner. The other reason I like this is because without it, when it's done, I pull this out and I set it on top and it drains, but it takes a very long time to drain. And it's very hard to really squeeze out all the goodness out of it because you can't really squeeze it. You just have to let it sit and drain and use gravity, and it's just not efficient. With this, you've got your grain in there, you pull it out, you tie it up, and then you squeeze the bag. And unlike tea, I have found no reason why you shouldn't squeeze the bag and get as much liquid out of it as you can when you're done. And that gives me a much higher efficiency. I mean, I've checked and my conversion is much better with a mesh bag like this. So give it a try. You could use this by itself without the cylinder. I have tried that. The problem is if it touches the bottom of your pot, it will scorch. So the cylinder, with the cylinder, that helps mitigate that issue. Now there is one other thing, and that is you can get some gloves. I took a while to buy mine because they're not super cheap. They're not super expensive, but they're not that inexpensive. But you can get these gloves that are sort of rubberized, and they're good for up to, I don't know, 800 degrees Fahrenheit, like some crazy high number. And if you put those on, you can squeeze the heck out of the bag, and your hands don't get burnt. There's no problem with the heat. I will put a link in the description for those gloves if you're interested in seeing them or buying a pair. I put it off, like I said, for quite a while because of the cost, but I'm telling you, I should have bought them sooner. It is like a huge benefit. You know, otherwise what happens is you're trying to use dish gloves or something else and trying to squeeze the bag, and it's so hot with that boiling hot wort, you either burn yourself or you're just, you know, quickly trying to squeeze the bag and having to let go. It really is super helpful to have gloves that can just withstand the heat, and you can just, you know, quickly saves time and energy. I would just remind you, if you do what I do, and you have a system like this, just look out for these little side hooks when you're taking the bag out. It's going to be full of grain. It's going to rub against these. Be very gentle when you're pulling the actual grain bag out so that you don't tear it. By the way, the other benefit I can think of for doing it like this by putting a bag inside of this is when you pull the bag out, this is so much easier to clean because there's no grain in it. It's all been pulled out, and all you have to do is really rinse this down, sanitize it or whatever, but it's way easier to clean. So for me, it's a huge benefit to put a bag within this, you know, cylinder. So you're basically taking a brew in the bag and putting it inside a metal brew in the bag. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Hey, thanks for staying till the end and watching my video, finding my page. I'll put a link somewhere here, maybe down here to another video. I've got some other ones. There's a link probably down in this corner, around there and down, for subscribing to my page. That way you can get notified the next time I upload content. And hey, have a great day, brew some beer, and as I always say, happy brewing.